Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, if you're trying to keep pace with artificial intelligence right now, it feels less like keeping up with news and more like, well, trying to sip from a fire hose, doesn't it?
Yeah. Fire hose is about right.
The sheer volume of launches, announcements, policy shifts, it's genuinely overwhelming.
It really is.
So our mission today is to filter that noise. We want to give you a clear view of the October 2025 pulse, basically distilling this flood of source material down to, clear wins, sharp risks, and practical knowledge you can actually use.
In that fire hose analogy, it's spot on. The speed we're seeing is forcing some really fascinating convergence points in our sources. Usually massive infrastructure deals take years now. They're unveiled alongside policy talk.
Right, almost in lockstep.
Exactly. And generative output, it's not a toy anymore. It's immediately forcing these hard, real-world questions about who owns what, content provenance, IP. What's really striking is how fast things are moving from, say, research labs to actual stable products that developers are shipping with today.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Our sources cover a huge amount of ground. We've got multi-billion-dollar infrastructure packs, clinical breakthroughs, even new societal guardrails.
It's a lot.
It is. So we're going to focus our deep dive into three main areas. First, the new creative frontier, think hyperreal video, and the IP backlash that's brewing. Second, we'll look at the enterprise workhorse models, the tools really driving business, and the, frankly, staggering infrastructure arms race behind them.
Yeah, the scale there is something else.
And finally, we'll shift to the crucial guardrails, especially in sensitive areas like health and social governance, where, trust is everything.
Absolutely critical.
Right. So let's start where the tech feels most visible right now. Hyperreal video. OpenAI's Sora 2 just landed, and everyone's calling it physics smart. What does that actually mean for creators, for us? What's changed?
Well, it means we've basically crossed a threshold. We've gone from generating, simple, often glitchy clips to creating dynamic, believable simulations. Sora 2 leans hard into what they call world simulation.
World simulation.
Okay, yeah, it lets the model track physics cause and effect with far fewer of those weird reality breaks we saw in earlier models. You drop a ball, it bounces right, loses momentum like it should.
So that's more coherent.
Exactly. It's achieved this sort of LLM-era coherence, but for video. Multi-shot directions hold together. It supports realistic styles, cinematic, even high-fidelity anime, and often it generates synchronized sound effects right out of the box.
Okay, but here's where it gets, for me, really interesting and where the societal impact feels immediate. Sora 2 introduced personal cameos.
Ah, yes.
After verification, users can put their own likeness, their own voice, inside a generated scene. It started invite-only iOS in the US and Canada.
Yeah.
But being able to put anyone, potentially, into any generated narrative, that changes things.
That's the ethical fault line right there. The tech leap is huge, no doubt. But this push to hyperrealism, especially personalized realism, opens up immediate, acute identity risks.
And it's not just OpenAI, is it?
No, not at all. We have to look at competitors like ByteDance. They're making aggressive moves with Seedance for video, Seedream for images. Our sources point out ByteDance models often have really strong prompt adherence, good style consistency, and sometimes at lower costs.
Which makes them attractive,
But the reality is these realistic outputs flood the market. They can slip through existing deepfake detection, and that just fuels misinformation risk. It accelerates it, really.
So when you have these hyper-realistic, personalized outputs flying around, who owns the result? The IP conflicts that were sort of simmering, they seem to have boiled over now.
They absolutely have. It's outright legal warfare in some cases. The creative industry is responding fiercely. Look at Disney. They issued a major cease and desist to Character.AI.
Over the chatbot mimicking characters?
Precisely. Over bots mimicking studio characters without authorization. The core argument is shifting. These interactive fan characters, they're increasingly seen not as harmless fan art, but as, well, commercial products. That triggers serious copyright and trademark issues for the original owner.
And it's not just the IP of the characters, it's the performers too, right? The human backlash in Hollywood, it's noticeable. We saw reports about agencies courting Tilly Norwood, a synthetic actress.
Yes, Tilly Norwood. That immediately revived all the tensions from the recent strike era.
Understandably.
SAG-AFTRA, the performers union, pushed back hard. They argued synthetics like Tilly risk directly replacing human performers. The big worry, That these synthetics use unconsented training data, unconsented likenesses.
Hmm.
It opens up this massive unresolved legal hole. What do contracts look like? What about residuals, moral clauses? When the actors just code and data, the old frameworks just don't fit, and there's real pressure to figure this out fast.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Moving from that creative chaos to maybe corporate competence, the tools teams are actually using to ship products. Anthropic's Claude Sonnet 4.5.
Yeah.
It feels positioned as the enterprise default, more utility, maybe less flash.
That's exactly the positioning, yes. Sonnet 4.5 is the workhorse. It's tuned specifically for practical autonomy, in complex real-world computing tasks.
And the benchmarks seem to back that up.
They do. Sources note it leads in Oswald, which, for listeners who don't know, is a key benchmark testing true system autonomy. Can the model actually navigate a computer interface, solve tricky multi-step problems without a human holding its hand?
That performance is one thing, but the endurance claim is striking. Anthropic is talking about up to 30 hours of autonomy for long projects. 30 hours. I mean, how are the sources defining autonomy there? Is it truly hands-off?
Right, that's the crucial distinction. It's not maintenance-free autonomy. Think of it more as a huge leap in sustained runtime and self-correction. The new developer features the Claude Agent SDK, context editing, memory modules. They let the agent handle messy, multi-hour workflows.
Like what, for example?
Like generating complex spreadsheets, then creating slides based on those sheets, then drafting the email summary to go with them. It minimizes the need for constant human babysitting. For developers, that kind of endurance definitely beats a flashy one-off demo.
Okay, that sustained capability is huge. But all that software autonomy doesn't mean much without the physical infrastructure to run it at scale. Which brings us to this massive, almost geopolitical story.
Yeah.
The Samsung OpenAI Stargate pact. This isn't just ordering more chips, is it?
No, this is way beyond just chips. It's an infrastructure plan with real national scale, national ambition. The pact links 4 huge Samsung companies directly to OpenAI's hyperscale compute needs. Samsung Electronics provides the cutting-edge memory, advanced packaging.
The usual hardware suspects.
Right. But here's the potential game changer. Samsung C&T, their construction arm, and Samsung Heavy Industries are actively exploring building floating data centers
Hello.
and floating power plants alongside them.
Floating data centers. That sounds like science fiction. Why?
Well-
What's the constraint pushing them offshore? Surely building on land is easier. And aren't there antitrust worries binding 4 giants like this?
The why is driven by sheer physical demand. Hyperscale AI needs immense everything: land, reliable power, and crucially, cooling. Cooling capacity is becoming a massive bottleneck for traditional inland data centers.
The water access.
Exactly. Move offshore. You solve land scarcity, you have immediate access to limitless cold water for cooling, and you can co-locate power generation right there. The sources say the goal is easing grid pressure in populated areas too.
Makes sense. And the dependency risk.
Well, the pact is about creating a closed, optimized ecosystem. Great for performance if you're inside it. But yes, it absolutely raises questions about vertical integration and market dependency for anyone not aligned with the specific pact. It could create significant barriers.
So while some are scaling up to these floating megastructures, there's also a major counter trend scaling down to the edge, right? On-device AI.
Yes, that's the other big push. It's about speed, privacy, and frankly, cloud costs. Apple's foundation models framework is a huge move here. It's coming with iOS 26, iPadOS 26, macOS 26.
And what does that framework actually do?
It fundamentally changes the economics for developers. It lets third-party apps call a pretty powerful 3 billion parameter language model on the device itself for free. Offline inference.
Offline and free.
Right. That means faster, totally private assistance woven into your routines, no expensive cloud round trips needed. For millions of common tasks, the inference cost drops to 0. That puts intense pressure back on the cloud providers.
Okay, shifting from the core tech and business strategy.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the societal deep dive, particularly healthcare and governance. We're seeing real, measurable gains now, moving past just theory.
Absolutely. Oncology AI is, well, it's surging, driven by genuine clinical results. Forecasts project this segment alone will add something like $7.5 billion by 2029. That's a massive 27.8% compound annual growth rate.
Wow. And what's driving that growth?
Primarily multimodal diagnostics, fusing complex, different data types, radiology scans, pathology slides, genomic sequences to enable truly personalized precision medicine.
We saw a compelling example in the sources about AI targeting brain metastases. Given how common those are in cancer patients, 10 to 40% develop them, Even small workflow improvements seem really significant.
The clinical value is proven now, especially in automation. AI is doing automated segmentation, measuring lesions quickly and accurately. It's offering diagnostic assistance, flagging subtle things radiologists might miss, and providing prognostic tools to estimate risk. That connection from algorithm to a precise, measurable clinical action, that's where the ROI really is.
And progress, too, in a less structured but maybe equally critical area: mental health.
Yes, precision mental health is moving fast from just a concept to actual clinical use. It's built on sort of three pillars. First, identifying brain circuit biotypes using advanced imaging to categorize patients by how their brains function, not just symptoms.
Okay.
Second, creating AI-powered digital twins, simulating patient trajectories to try and optimize treatment paths before applying them. And third, ambient sensing using non-intrusive voice analysis, video cues to help triage risk, track progress.
Sounds potentially powerful,
Yeah.
but also sensitive.
Extremely sensitive. The key message from researchers is about balance. The model should expand options, catch human blind spots, sure, but human judgment, empathy, accountability, those have to remain absolutely central to any treatment plan.
Right. So in this new era of hyperreal outputs, volatile information, safety and governance are just critical everywhere. How are organizations tackling this blend of technical and social risks?
What we're seeing is this necessary, very practical convergence between traditional cybersecurity and what you might call information integrity. The attack methods are blending.
How so?
Attackers aren't just doing one or the other. They'll blend technical intrusions like sophisticated phishing with cognitive manipulation, seeding coordinated rumors using AI-generated fake videos or text. It creates a single integrated risk surface.
Which must be incredibly hard for traditional security teams to handle.
It is. They're scrambling because the winning defense has to unify visibility. You need to see across network indicators and social spaces. You need to counter the adversary before the malware hits or before the viral disinformation spreads too wide. It requires a new approach.
OpenAI detailed some pretty hard-line safety strategies for this unified risk, especially around protecting kids and handling extreme content.
Yes, for families, they launched ChatGPT parental controls. Lets parents set quiet hours, disable voice or memory features, opt teen accounts out of model training, giving them more oversight.
And for the really harmful stuff.
It's a multi-layered approach. They use hash matching against known child sexual abuse material, deploy advanced classifiers like thorns to spot novel, never-before-seen harmful content, and crucially, mandate immediate reports to NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, when certain triggers are hit. It's comprehensive because the tech moves way faster than the law.
Still, this raises that big question about stability, maybe even political neutrality of the information we get from these models. There was that big audit during the 2024 U.S. election, tracked 16 million answers across different models. What did that uncover about the AI governance black box?
It was highly revealing, especially about model volatility and opacity. The audit found these abrupt shifts in behavior. A question gets a neutral answer one week, then a dramatically different one the next, probably tied to unannounced behind-the-scenes guardrail tweaks.
So, inconsistency.
Yes, but also something more subtle. The audit found models actively tailored framing to implied user demographics. A kind of digital brown nosing, you could say.
Oh.
It subtly nudges tone and word choice based on who it thinks is asking without necessarily changing the core facts.
That's concerning.
It highlights that these systems aren't neutral pipes for information. They're rapidly evolving, often opaque intermediaries, and their behavior can change without warning or explanation.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you, the listener, trying to make sense of it? The pace is relentless, yes, but the overall takeaway from these sources feels clear. Success in AI now seems to be about blending really solid engineering with thoughtful guardrails and keeping a sharp focus on practical results, on utility, rather than just, flashy demos.
Absolutely. Critical thinking is more essential than ever when your information source might be volatile or subtly tailoring itself to you. AI is becoming indispensable in healthcare, enterprise, creativity, sure, but you have to constantly validate claims, understand the intermediary nature of the system giving you the answer.
We covered a lot today. Major breakthroughs in coding autonomy with Claude Sonnet 4.5, that dramatic IP rights war over synthetic actors like Tilly Norwood.
The huge potential and risk of floating data centers with the Stargate pact, and that quiet but really significant shift to free, offline, on-device AI coming from Apple. So here's a final provocative thought for you to chew on. pulled from our look at business impact. One study on small and medium enterprises, SMEs, found AI proficiency acts as either a lifeline or a fault line during crises.
Lifeline or fault line.
Yeah. The difference wasn't just having the tech, it was internal skill, how well the AI fit their actual processes, and how fast they adapted. So, as someone focused on practical application, which side of that fault line are you actively working to be on right now?
A really important question. We hope this deep dive has sharpened your view, maybe given you a bit more confidence to navigate this incredibly dynamic landscape. Go turn one insight into action.